After the deadly July floods, calls grow for a river management review.
You should be in the business of protecting people from the things that are going on in the river.
But investigators found most river authority boards in Texas are political appointees, and in some cases, board members are also donors. A meeting of state lawmakers focused on free speech on college campuses, their idea of what is allowed, as one professor shares his concerns about academic freedom. A debate in the state to regulate THC reached the nation's capital, why opening the government's doors could close some for the hemp industry.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. More than 4 months after losing their daughters in the devastating flood at Camp Mystic, some of the victims' families are taking legal action. At least 4 different lawsuits have been filed against the camp, and they accuse the camp of gross negligence and disregard for safety, arguing the deaths of 27 campers and counselors were preventable. As the flood waters rose on July 4th, some campers and counselors were told to stay put. That's according to new lawsuits claiming after the first flash flood warning at 1:14 a.m., the camp spent an hour moving equipment before starting to evacuate some of the cabins. The suit claims some of the girls have been told not to evacuate and remain inside, quote, because the water would go back down.
No one got down there in time to get these kids out, or no one delivered the message. Move, get out of harm's way, get to higher ground. What is the explanation? That's what these families want to know. And that's what we're going to find out in this lawsuit.
Austin attorney Randy Howry represents the family of 8-year-old Eloise Lulu Peck, who was killed. He says the camp should have known the risk with cabins built in high-risk flood zones and appeals to FEMA in recent years to remove that designation, the suits allege, for insurance purposes. Howry and other attorneys say the camp ignored historical flood data and delayed evacuations, critical missteps they believe cost lives. We reached out to Camp Mystic. An attorney for the camp sent us this statement saying, in part, they empathize with the families who lost loved ones. They also said they disagree with, quote, several accusations and misinformation in the legal filings, adding they will thoroughly respond in due course. The camp has previously defended its decision to partially reopen next summer and says it will work with lawmakers investigating the flooding. After the deadly July 4th floods, the role of managing Texas rivers flowed back into focus. Investigator Matt Grant found there are new calls from advocates and lawmakers to give residents more power in shaping the nearly century-old system, a system designed to mitigate everything from droughts to flash floods.
You should be in the business of protecting people from the things that are going on in the river. I don't see how the Upper Guadalupe River Authority helped in any way in this flood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
In July, the Upper Guadalupe River Authority, which is appointed by the governor, faced state lawmaker criticism for not monitoring gauges and turning down a grant to help fund a flood warning system 9 months before more than 100 people were killed in Kerr County, including 27 young campers and counselors at Camp Mystic.
You're not accountable to the voters of Kerr County, even though you're taxing them.
We are accountable to the voters of Kerr County because they pay taxes that support us, but they couldn't
unelect you and take you off the board if they didn't think you were doing a good job.
That's correct.
About 25 miles south of Kerrville is Bandera, known as the cowboy capital of the world. Here, even water governance has a bit of a maverick streak. We looked at more than 15 river authorities across the state and found only 2, including the local river authority here, whose boards are elected by the people instead of chosen by the governor.
In this area, we're in rural Texas, it's worked very well.
David Malk is the general manager of the Bandera County River Authority and Groundwater District, a 9-member elected board protecting the Sabinal and Medina rivers.
Some of the principal problems with Flash Flood Alley start up here, and you can see why, because of the terrain, the geography. It's steep and it's rocky. And when it rains here, it can be a contact sport.
In Bandera, revenue and accountability stream from the residents who live here. Unlike other river authorities that get money from selling water and hydroelectric power, Malk's board is funded through property taxes.
So you have the taxpayers funding us, who are also potentially the voters in the region. And they can affect change down the road if they don't like how things are going.
So how important are river authorities to Texas?
Well, they're essential. I think the old adage, for the most part, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Wes Birdwell is a civil engineer, formerly with the Texas Floodplain Management Association and Lower Colorado River Authority. He supports the current system of mostly governor-appointed boards.
I think river authorities have done a fantastic job. In my mind, it's worked well. I don't think we have as much control over the kind of people we get if we get into elected situations.
One change he would like to see: new expanded training for board members.
I think training is always good, especially on a broad scale.
From funding, term limits, and board structure, each river authority is unique. A recent Sunset Advisory Commission report found many lack guidance and are inconsistent in their approach to internal auditing and not aligned with state constitutional term limits. In response, at least 3 board terms were reduced from 6 years to 4, with one bill filed proposing to make the San Jacinto River Authority elected. It didn't pass.
I'd actually like to see more of our state agencies be elected.
Annalisa Peace is executive director of the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance and advises San Antonio's elected river authority.
I'd rather have the legislature go ahead and say, let's give these guys some decent budgets to work with and make these positions elected.
Here in Flash Flood Alley, this river authority also collects property taxes, which will soon help pay for a new advanced warning system.
So what would be wrong with the governor appointing someone that he thinks is best suited for this role?
Well, sometimes the governor might make a good choice. Sometimes it might just be a reward.
We looked at campaign finance records and found Governor Abbott has tapped some top dollar donors to sit on river authorities, including LCRA's Curtis Ford from Austin, who gave nearly $500,000 since 2010, telling us his contributions are unrelated to his work at the board, and nearly $800,000 from Alan Bloxham III with the Nueces River Authority. Bloxham, an oil and gas executive, says his appointment reflects a long-standing dedication to environmental stewardship and preservation of our state's rivers and ecosystems. The governor's office says Abbott chooses leaders he believes are best equipped to fulfill the duties of their office. All appointments are subject to Senate approval.
The drought made a lot of people forget about the pain of floods.
Back in Bandera, Malk says the ballot box model works, but a one-size-fits-all mandate may not.
I feel like it's always better to reflect on how things are run and see if there's a better way of doing it.
Potentially this is a better way.
I could say this, it is a way that works very well here.
Matt Grant, State of Texas.
There's now over $1 million in state-based funding to go toward legal aid, helping Texans who are dealing with the aftermath of the July floods. That's for things like insurance issues, access to FEMA benefits, and more. Jayla Washington takes us through the process.
For months, families like Ashley Dickens have worked to get back on their feet, cutting through obstacles after their homes and entire properties were swallowed by water and swept away during July's floods. This is what she told us back then.
They didn't even offer flood insurance to us because we're not in a flood zone.
An unfortunate story, but common reality. It's why the Texas Access Justice Foundation recently announced $1.8 million for the Texas Rio Grande legal aid for those impacted. It serves 68 counties in central and southwest Texas.
It is fairly common for people to have issues relating to insurance claims, also for people claiming disaster benefits that they may be entitled to, working out issues relating to perhaps losing a job. There are businesses that are washed away, so unemployment issues. Also things like helping with housing issues if you were renting a property, for example, that was affected. All sorts of things that can continue to affect people even months later as they're trying to sort through and get their lives going again.
Justice Brett Busby with the Texas Supreme Court says they expect to be able to help hundreds, if not thousands, of Texans.
So there's additional private money that's coming in to help, and then lawyers are also donating their time for free to help out.
That help possibly going a long way for so many who lost so much.
I'm sorry.
Jayla Washington, State of Texas.
It's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again.
After 43 days, the government is now reopened. President Donald Trump signed a budget bill into law Wednesday. Flight-related delays and cutbacks will likely ease over the coming days, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture told states to send complete SNAP payments for the month. But the funding bill only funds the government through January 30th, meaning another shutdown could happen February 1st if Congress can't work out a long-term deal. With the reopening of the government, it could mean an end to the multi-billion-dollar intoxicating hemp industry. Part of the bill redefines hemp. The proposal would lower the threshold of the naturally occurring chemicals present in the plant for it to be considered legal hemp. While opponents say this would kill a budding industry, supporters say it's worth the price to make intoxicating hemp products like gummies and drinks illegal.
We did 4 separate polls actually 5 down in Texas. And every one of those polls showed 70 to 80%, 70% at the low end, 80% at the high end, wanted to regulate the product and not eliminate the product.
The fact that Congress actually, tied up that loophole was a huge victory for public health and safety.
The proposal takes effect next year. A panel of judges in El Paso are debating the legality of newly drawn congressional districts. The timing of their decision is unknown, but some congressional candidates are hoping for an answer soon because the deadline to file for the primary election is less than 1 month away. The new district boundary for District 35 looks like this. It incorporates parts of San Antonio and rural areas to the east. It's an area President Trump won with ease in 2024, but if the new map is blocked by the court, it could revert back to the current map. That encompasses an area from Austin to San Antonio that is currently represented by a Democrat. We spoke to a Democrat campaigning in 35 who tells us he may not even run depending on the court's decision.
My team and I are watching this very closely, and we've kind of war gamed and planned for all the scenarios that we think can come out of this 3-judge panel.
No matter what decision the court makes, experts say it will ultimately be appealed to a higher court. There is a possibility the ongoing legal battle could delay the March primary.
As we understand it, they are restricting our ability to teach things that relate to race, gender, sexual orientation.
Free speech or overreach? The debate at the Capitol about what students and professors statewide can say and do. Artificial intelligence is expanding its footprint in Texas, the new data center expansion, and where a power plant used just for AI is being built. Some members of the Texas legislature returned to the Capitol this week to discuss freedom of speech and civil discourse on Texas college and university campuses. The Joint Committee came together in response to the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. State Capitol correspondent Adam Schwager was there and talked to a Texas A&M professor who fears these same lawmakers are interfering with their academic freedom.
We don't have freedom to discuss the truth of the matter. Then our very democracy will fall.
Leonard Bright has worked at Texas A&M for nearly a decade and a half, currently as a full professor at the Bush School of Government and Public Service.
It is being chilled.
He called us outside a Board of Regents meeting on Thursday, ready to fight an impending change to A&M system policy.
As we understand it, they are restricting our ability to teach things that relate to race, gender, sexual orientation.
The new language will only allow those topics to be, quote, advocated if the university president pre-approves the course and its materials. It comes months after A&M fired a professor after being secretly recorded discussing gender ideology during class. Texas A&M stated they fired the professor for not following the course description. While that discussion happened in College Station, lawmakers in Austin talked about college campus free speech.
We've had a lot of free speech on the floor of the House and the Senate, and no one's ever come to blows.
The committee formed as a response to Charlie Kirk's assassination at a college campus in Utah and repeatedly emphasized the importance of preserving civil dialogue on both sides of the aisle.
We are not talking about removing a perceived liberal bias and putting in place a perceived conservative bias.
Bright says he agrees with it in principle, but worries about it in practice.
That sounds great on the surface, right?
For State of Texas, I'm Adam Schwager.
The rule change passed the Board of Regents. In a statement, Texas A&M University Systems Chancellor Glenn Hager said transparency and accountability are essential to our mission, and this effort is really about ensuring we balance academic freedom with academic responsibility.
We are going to get the laws passed that finally end your property tax problems here in the state of Texas.
Governor Greg Abbott wants to abolish school taxes. How much would it cost to make his property tax reform promise a reality? Learning the history of Texas through the lens of the people who shaped the state. The new video series and where you can watch. The Pluribus Texas, a journey through the culture and history that shaped the state of Texas, has wrapped up. Through storytelling, interviews, and archive footage, the video series is available at the Texas Center at Schreiner University YouTube page. Joining us now is Ben Freeberg and Don Frazier with the Texas Center. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, you bet.
And so some of you may not know, but Ben's actually a former colleague of mine on the investigative team here at KXAN. We just want to thank you for being here with us and,
Thanks for having us.
And seeing what you're doing in your next life after news.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us a little bit about this series. How did it get started and what's it all about?
Well, I'll let Don talk a little bit about how it started. It was his brainchild, really.
Yeah, it kind of rolled out of my head. So I've been teaching college history for decades. And as I saw the way the story of Texas was being told, I was going, we're kind of losing the plot line here. So maybe we need to tell it in a very accessible way. And what better way to do that than 5 minutes at a time?
What can we expect? I mean, why was it important to tell the stories in this way particularly?
Well, because people today have shorter attention spans, and we also made them to where they can be used for 7th grade Texas history, also for high school, so we're kind of trying to thread that needle. And of course, to keep people's attention, you got to keep it shorter, make the edits a lot faster, and give it much more of a sense of movement. So these videos are not your typical sort of lecture series style videos. They look like they could be something off of Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah. Well, I cannot wait to dive in. We will include a link to the YouTube page on our website in this story, the State of Texas section. So Ben, Don, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I am going to make this my primary point. I'm going to make across the state, and we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
No more school property taxes. That's the idea Governor Greg Abbott is now pitching, but doing that is complicated. We explore ways it could happen. Governor Greg Abbott said he wants to give voters a choice to eliminate school property taxes for homeowners. It's part of his 5-part plan to overhaul property taxes in the state as he runs for a record 4th term. He went to Tyler, Texas this week to lay out his plan. However, he has yet to answer clearly how the state pays for all of this. Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim reports.
The governor was in Tyler on Wednesday, not signing legislation, but a campaign promise to cut your property taxes.
And I'm putting my name on it. Let's fight!
The 5-point plan highlighted by giving voters the chance to approve a constitutional amendment that would eliminate school property taxes for homeowners.
That property tax should be reduced to 0.
But how would the state cover the cost of schools without this tax? The governor does not have a clear answer just yet.
That should be up to the voters or up to a meeting or discussion among legislators.
Here in Austin, lawmakers have had those conversations on how to eliminate property taxes. And it turns out it's a hard question to answer. The Senate Finance Committee investigated how much it would cost to get rid of all property taxes for Texans, roughly $81 billion. For school district taxes alone, it's $39.5 billion.
This is not something that you can find $81 billion and on a per year basis and not have a major impact in the remaining sales tax.
One idea raised in the hearing was raising the sales tax. But Chandra Villanueva, the director of budget and policy at Every Texan, said the level it would need to raise to would harm business.
It would be the highest and most regressive tax in the nation. I can't imagine the business community would get behind a 25% sales tax.
At the event in Tyler, Abbott had a message to lawmakers. If he gets elected, this is getting done.
I am going to make this my primary point. I'm going to make across the state, and we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Dylan McKim, State of Texas.
Other parts of Abbott's plan include lowering the yearly appraisal cap from 10% to 3%, requiring 2/3 of voter approval to raise tax rates, and allow voters to call for an election to roll back tax rates. New artificial industry business in Texas is growing. The AI research company Anthropic is putting $50 billion into infrastructure. That includes data centers in Texas and New York. The company expects by next year to create 800 permanent jobs and 2,000 construction jobs on these first locations. Meanwhile, Chevron announced it's building its first power plant for AI in the Permian Basin. According to the Houston Chronicle, the company hopes to have the plant online by 2027. An exact location was not revealed, but the company said this is a trend of power centers being built away from major cities and closer to fuel surfaces. This comes as the tech industry's spending on AI infrastructure raised concerns about a potential investment bubble. NVIDIA, which makes chips used in many data centers across the country, is scheduled to give its earnings report Wednesday. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.